So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 10th Lord through houses. Okay. Um, as in, just like our series, we're going to be doing 10th Lord through houses. And as always, if you do not know where your 10th Lord is placed, what sign it's in, what nakshatra it's in, along with all the other astrological details, for that, check out the links here, karasastrology.com, where you'll find my books, reports, consultations, and a link to my academy, Vedic Astrology Academy, where especially I uploaded 3 new videos under Kara's vlogs about some major events that will take place next year and 2 events this year. Literally, I think March and April. So just a little, I can discuss those things here. So I've done that. And of course, 2025 horoscope for all the ascendants are on Kara's vlogs as well, which is almost like 20, 30 minutes long. Some even like I think went to 35 minutes. So now, let's talk about 10th Lord through houses. And of course, then what is also the 10th house? 10th house is the battleground of society where you go and perform something. It is the environment of the society you get. 10th house is also the wealth of your father, speech of your father, family of your father, the value of the father. Okay. 10th house is also government, authority, bosses. 10th house also represents the struggles of your children. 10th house represents the transformation of your siblings. 10th house also represents the luck of your family, the luck of your bank account. It represents many, many things. Okay. So now let's go through Lord of the 10th house in different houses. So obviously when 10th Lord is in the 10th house, it's considered a very positive position to have, right? What it does, anytime a Lord is in its own placement, it has the strength. And that strength does not mean some glorifying David and Goliath-like strength. What it shows is the form of stability. Like 10th Lord is in the 10th house. Person finds their way to their destination. They find their satisfactory balance in life of work-life balance. Okay. 10th Lord in the 10th house. It shows that the foundation of a person's ability to perform karma is strong. But see, now we look for boosters. What is going to boost this 10th Lord where a person can go from a normal manager, supervisor, retiring at 65, nice simple life, to someone like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos? See, that requires boost. See, the 10th Lord is going to require ambition. And that ambition is actually not in the 10th house. That ambition is always with moon. Always with moon and Jupiter. Until you find that absolute inspiration, motivation, frustration from the life that you're living, only then things can happen. And I've always said this, that yoga that you have in your birth chart, whether it's Raj Yoga, Dhan Yoga, all kinds of yoga, it only takes place when moon is giving permission for that yoga to be activated. I'll tell you how. I actually just did a reading of somebody's wife, and she does merchandising. Okay. Marketing and merchandising for a company, and hasn't been promoted for 14 years. And when I saw her, I'm like, she shouldn't be doing what she's doing. She needs to go into this completely different avenue of dealing with media, doing your own business, but business has to have involvement of Ketu. Okay. Whether it's fashion designing, whether it's connected with cooking, culinary arts, accounting. But the thing is, if the person's mind says, nah, I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. I just want to do this. This is where my mind is. So you see now that yoga that is saying that here's your money, here's all the wealth power that is there in your chart. It's not going to be 100% to its potential because your mind is like, well, I don't really care to achieve it. And when the time comes, it doesn't fructify to 100%, it fructifies to 20%, 30%. Because it does have to give you something. So maybe just within the company, you kind of like increase your ranks. So 10th Lord in the 10th house is a safe position, but it does not mean anything more glorious. And 10th Lord in the 10th house can be damaging as well. Because you want to see which planets are influencing the 10th house and hemming the 10th house. Because then the person is going to be in an environment that they're going to be pushed to the breaking limit. The person is going to be surrounded with enemies. Person may not have any form of a great relationship with their authorities and bosses, and that's what's going to frustrate them, especially if they don't have the combinations to do business, but only 2 combinations to do a job. Okay. But if we do see in the chart, 10th Lord is in the 10th house, okay, we're like, okay, this person has a strong foundation to build upon their career. They always tend to find that safeguard place. Like no matter if the person has switched 20 jobs, 30 jobs, the job is there. The paycheck is coming in no matter what. Even if it's a little bit, at least you can go to McDonald's and buy yourself a cheeseburger and stay alive. Right? So there's all these little differences, of how the 10th Lord needs to behave or will behave. Usually, the more malefic, the influence on a person's life is, the better they do. Why? Because they have dealt with so much animosity in their life, poverty in their life, that they're like, I need to break free. So that ambition is like kind of like just tearing up and becoming Superman. When usually you have a lot of exalted and Mul Trikon planets, it's like a person is always just gets things normally. And so the ambition is not there. They're like, hey, I got a good life. Like for example, I've seen a lot of firefighters, especially in US, who retire with a full salary. 150,000, 100,000, 80,000. And they're like, that's it, I'm good. And they might be good, right? That's it. That's their goal. They achieved it. So that's how you want to look at this. Now let's look at 10th Lord in the 11th house. Then, of course, you have 10th Lord sitting in the 11th house. Now, basically, what we have known on one end, that okay, 11th house gives you recognition, gains, social circles, okay, fulfillment of desires. But this is a tricky placement because you can't understand astrology by looking at what the word is saying in a book. You gotta see charts. And so what happens is, with 10th Lord in the 11th house, it can give achievements, but at the same time, it can also become a blocker. Because this is where you understand something known as Bhadakesh and Mahabhadakesh. Okay. So, for certain ascendants, 11th house naturally becomes Bhadakesh. Like for all the movable ascendants, 11th house is going to be Bhadakesh. But the thing is, 11th house is naturally Bhadak. Okay. And there's two definitions to it. One is that it's a Bhadak, which gives you high achievements, meaning you deal with hurdles, enemies, big competition, big enemies to achieve your success. That's one Bhadak that helps you overcome. And this is where you find very successful people who had to go through such circumstances that it was impossible for them to ever think of themselves being that successful. And then on the other hand, it naturally becomes an obstacle, like people within your workspace. Because remember what I said, 10th house is the battlefield, right? So people within the battlefield who are supposed to be there fighting the battle with you become the obstacles. And obviously 10th house becomes the obstacle, especially when it comes concerning your supervisor, bosses. Okay. Those people can naturally become the obstacle. And that's always what I hear. I've seen too many of these particular placements where achievements is to happen, but it's becoming a blockage. Okay. And of course, the third point of 10th Lord in the 11th house will also depend upon the timing. Like if a person runs through the dasha of the 10th Lord, sits in the 11th house, and its condition surrounding it. Because 10th Lord in the 11th house, okay, great. It helps you achieve higher success. Okay, that's the definition, we'll stick with it. But why is it that then 10 out of 10 people are not getting those particular achievements? Because the 10th Lord in the 11th house is surrounded by enemies. Perhaps if, let's say, 10th Lord becomes retrograde, it makes you do things repeatedly to achieve your success. So this is what's happening. Although, yes, 10th Lord is second from itself, is there to feed itself in the 11th house. So one of the most important things that becomes when 10th Lord is in the 11th house is that you better become a people pleaser, people person. You know, when people feel like, too many people are kissing ass of the boss or of people to get ahead, and it's done too much now, and people recognize it, but guess what? It definitely helps this person. May not help you with your 10th Lord in some other house. You need to create contacts. You need to know contacts. You need to keep up your relationship with them. Even if a person has to fake it to please someone, to, laugh with their nonsensical jokes when it won't make sense. This person, if they play that chess game, they naturally gain that position in life that they need. Because the support system of the 10th house is sitting in the 11th of large organizations, large committees, and group of people. They're the one deciding your battlefield. Okay. So in order for you to achieve things, if let's say your moon, and again, we come back to the moon again, if the moon doesn't allow you to be so social, because being social is all the construct of the mind. And if that's not allowing you, and yet your 10th Lord is in the 11th, you will probably not fructify that particular position. And yeah, I get it, it's understandable. Like, I wouldn't be one of those people if I had that position, especially with my mindset, because I'm an introvert, I'm a hermit, I'm secluded. I like just being, within my own cave. So for me to go out and pretend like, yes, network circles, and I have to know everybody at the right place, for me, it will not work out, because it's like, I'll feel like I have to now act. Once in a while, it's fine. But to constantly do that, that becomes a headache. So if the moon allows you to be social and you love being social, and then you have 10th Lord in the 11th house, then Skies becomes the limit. Even if, let's say, 11th house lord or 10th lord is in a hard position, well, okay, fine. You have to take extra steps compared to the person B to get to your, destination. But it is going to allow you with that sheer hard work. So Malefic simply says, they're gatekeepers. We're the gatekeepers. You're going to have to fight us to get in there. Ultimately, if you fight, there is a chance to win. But you're going to have to fight. So then when 10th Lord goes into the 12th house, this position actually, to be honest with you, is actually better than even 10th Lord in the 11th. This may not have been the case maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, or 50 years ago. Okay. Now, this is actually the placement that creates a very successful environment for an individual. The reason being, the world is a transient global village. The transmigration of multicultural groups is extremely common now. And what is the 12th house? 12th house represents a far away foreign place, something far isolated from your home, your familiarities, your food, your culture, your gods, your loved ones. Now, 12th house represents losses. It's actually not losses. It's more represents letting go. Okay. It is the house of moksha. Moksha is about letting go. We think of it as a loss. 12th house is investments. 12th house is donations. Okay. So one thing we see is that because it's so common for people to move from one country to another, it's not just like from India people are wanting to come to United States. Literally now, I'm sure you guys know in India, so many foreigners are there. Like if you go to Bangalore, white people, Asian people, Europeans are just even Africans, they're like normal there now. They get opportunities to work. So this is why it becomes a very great placement that instead of a person feeling lost, as it would have been the case back in the old days when the opportunity was not there so easily and readily for you to move, now it actually shows that a person is going to gain fruits of their karma in a foreign place. Why? Because if you look at the 12th house, it is third from the 10th house. So being third from the 10th, third house represents your effort and the fruit of that effort. Actually, if you really want to see, bhavat bhavam of the third house, which is the 5th house, really becomes the fruit, which also the house of children, right? So, but third house is where that effort is put in. So usually the 10th Lord in the third house shows that one reaps the results of their effort in a faraway place, meaning you're going to have to be out of your comfort zone in order for you to gain your success. At the same time, 12th house is also hospitals, laboratories, asylums. Okay. So here, we usually see that a person, if let's say they're in their own homeland, usually a person will be a type of individual who will like working behind the scenes, who likes working, in a back end of things. Usually 12th house is also theaters, like cinema. Because cinema is something which is dark, right? And of course, I think probably maybe within the next 5 or 10 years, cinemas are just going to be like what 1920s technology was, because nobody's caring for movies anymore. Most likely the movies are just not going to exist. And if they do, they're just going to be too saturated. Because if now anybody can make a movie, I can make a movie, you can make a movie, so it's not that valued. So when 10th Lord is in the 12th house, the more you are away from your own familiar situation, the better actually the individual does. Okay. And especially 10th Lord in the 12th house, the person puts in the most effort in terms of their battleground, their career. And also because 10th Lord is in the 12th house, usually a person can find their ancestors being self-made, self-sufficient, maybe doing some merchant or business, especially from their paternal lineage side. And also, yeah, you can see that the paternal lineage would have also migrated from one place to another, far away. And of course, that's like, it's a case with 90% of the lineages. Everybody has settled from somewhere, so it's not really a great analysis to make. But yeah, they all like to put their own effort. Like paternal lineage never really just received easy support in life. They just made it on their own. And of course, it also shows that father's wealth would have really come through ancestral land, motherland. Mother would have been quite involved in generating the wealth of the father side, would have had their stronghold regardless of the era. Okay. So now we look at 10th Lord in the ascendant. So then 10th Lord is in the ascendant. And this is one of those positions where the identity of a person is actually defined by their work. Like, if you ask a person with 10th Lord in the ascendant, like who you are, they'll say, I'm a programmer. I'm a lawyer. No, who are you? What do you mean? Who am I? Well, I'm somebody who wants to bring a change into the world. I'm somebody who wants to become a CEO. What happens is their identity is always tied to what karma they're performing in society and world. This is those position where, when you say things like, this person is married to their work. This is that position where a person is married to their work. The work, which is the 10th house, not your career, what you're going to do. That could become, you could be a surgeon and your 10th Lord is in the ascendant. You could be an accountant, 10th Lord is in the ascendant. It's not defining the type of work you're doing. It's saying, what does this mean? What is the 10th house is doing? 10th house is coming to you. Usually you will see this person tends to have opportunities come to them, whether they take it or not, whether they're qualified or not, but opportunities always tend to come to them. Okay. With also 10th Lord in the ascendant, the individual likes to be responsible for their own work. Like, for example, they want to do their own business. They want to be the one in charge of that work environment. The other thing, usually such a person becomes very idealistic. They have this ideal concept of the world because, see, they're influenced. Who they are, who we are is the ascendant. And it's being influenced by society, the 10th house. So when they see people of the 10th house, whether it's president, prime ministers, celebrities, athletes, nowadays you can say influencers, they feel like, yes, this is the ideal way to be, the way this individual is. So their identity is always somehow connected to an authority, a big authoritative figure in life, like who they are trying to kind of manifest into. Usually 10th Lord in the Ascendant people become very involved in that, being an athlete, sports, because an athlete is known for their physical body. With the physical body that they're known to be, whoever they are. The brain is one part of it, but you're loving an athlete because of what they can do with their body. So whether it's an athlete, whether it's a fitness training, somebody even just playing just the sports as a teenager and in their 20s, it's, that's what kind of activates this person's identity. Again, like idolizing somebody and trying to be that somebody. But it also confirms that a person has the ability to be recognized for their work, or for the work that they do. People kind of respect them, recognize them. Now, of course, some of this recognition may come very slow. Some can come very quickly, depending upon if the 10th Lord in the Ascendant is Saturn or 10th Lord in the Ascendant is Mercury or Moon. So those will have the different dynamics. But the main thing to understand, and also, you'll get strongly influenced by your mother-in-law. Mother-in-law can play a big part with 10th Lord in the Ascendant. And a person also, when they're younger in age, strongly get impacted by father's family. Like they'll be much more closer to father's family than mother's side of family. The father side of family kind of gives them their identity, or gives them, their development in their development stages. Okay. Person also gets developed through the speech of the father. Whatever father told you somehow impacted you and who you are and who you were. Whether it was negative or positive, for that we have to see what angle the 10th Lord is sitting in and who is it sitting with. But speech of the father will impact strongly into your psyche and who you have become and who you are. Okay. Now we look at 10th Lord in the second house. So now you have 10th Lord in the second house, right? Which most definitely shows that somehow your battleground of profession is going to be strongly influenced by the family, and is specifically the side of the paternal side of family. Because 10th house is naturally the second from the 9th house of father. So it's father's family. So you most likely, now usually people won't have, a lot of understanding or history of their own family so much. But if you dig deep, no matter what you're doing, even if let's say you're a software programmer, right? How is it that your lineage is connected with it? Well, you got to think of it with a little bit more open mind, that perhaps your great grandfather, some uncle, was very good at building and making things out of metal, like engineer and making motors back in the 1900s. Or in 1810s, people came to him to, create all these mechanical things. So that has just that technical part gets transferred onto you. It has to be that. The other thing, your work is going to require for you to speak. And I've seen this many a times where a person who is struggling in, let's say, especially in a coding work, because coding does not require you to talk, they don't do really good in those particular situations. Like people feel that they're not progressing. Why they're not progressing? Because this part is not being used. The speaking part is not being used. Until they, of course, go from a natural, normal programmer to management position where now they have to talk to employees. Your speech is what wins you into your battleground. And especially 10th Lord in the second house. Second house is the face. That means the more this person is recognized, the more this person's face is recognized by people, the better their work becomes. And then better their money becomes. And the other thing, because 10th Lord is in the second house, yes, a person can work for family business, whatever work the family is doing, but this is also one of the combinations to do business. Because the work is now heading directly to you in your environment, in your family environment. This is why I said that you usually a person likes to follow in the footsteps of the family, but also this is a position of a person to do business, because this is also known as Simbhasan Yoga. When 10th Lord is in the second house, Simbhasan meaning the king's throne, the lion's throne. So in order to be a lion, a person has to be either a president, CEO, of a company. They have to be the head person. Now, this doesn't mean that every single person with 10th Lord in the second house can do business. This is one of the combinations, because the main combination is going to be the relationship between Saturn and Mercury, which will show if a person is able to do business and be successful at it. Because otherwise, the 10th Lord in the second house, if the business is happening and the combination is not there, then they're going to have to do partnership in order for that to work. But the main thing is that you want to improve your work. You want to improve your work conditions. One is going to have to speak for a living. Whether one goes into, even if let's say you're in software and tech, going into IT sales. Even if let's say you're a coder and things are just, snail pace. You're not, and especially now the market is so saturated, because every single, 1 out of every 3 students is doing computer engineering. So what's going to happen is like that selective market is now becoming wider. Like, for example, movie industry is going to be done. It's pretty much over, because anything is so democratic now, because I'm seeing just from your cell phone, you can create effects that you would have required a $20 million budget to make. When that happens, just like, we used to have blacksmiths back in the days. So now they're over. There is more of a novelty. And if you go to a museum, somebody will dress up like an old school blacksmith and showing you how to do things. That's it. That's how it's going to be. Okay. And people's interest in entertainment is gone down, because it's everywhere now. You're not just turning on your 1 or 2 channels or your 50 channels and that's it. It's everywhere, anywhere. You could be in a bathroom, you can be on a plane, you could be at a park, and you have a million choices, not just 1,000 million choices. But if let's say you are somebody who's a programmer, what you need to do, find a way to speak, meaning have your social media account. Get on social media, start talking about all the projects that are required. Whatever the IT and software requires, talk about it. I don't care. You don't need to make money from social media. You don't think that it's going to somehow enhance your money on the side. It may not. What it does do, it improves your 10th house conditions. Now, this doesn't mean that, okay, if you're an IT professional and you start talking about politics on social media, because then your corporation is not going to be happy with it. Nobody was going to be happy with it. But if you were to just stick to, let's say, your own work and you talk about that, you are constantly enhancing your 10th house. Okay, you're constantly enhancing your 10th house. So this is why it's important to do this when your 10th Lord's in the second house. Okay. Next is going to be 10th Lord in the third house. Brad Z. Hi, Brad. Nobody can see you, Brad. So, 10th Lord in the third house. Well, first of all, this is One of the most prominent placement for people who want to do their own business. They want to do things through their own effort. One likes to just take on responsibility on their own and do things. Now, because this placement is there, that doesn't mean that, okay, well, you're going to be able to do business. You have to have other placement like relationship between Saturn and Mercury for you to do business. Otherwise, you can definitely do business in partnership. And because 10th Lord is in the third house, you will see your the improvement of your work environment, whatever that may be, happens when you begin to communicate. Like, for example, if you go into media, marketing, sales, social media, and just being active on social media, it helps your career. And here's the thing. 10th Lord in the third house, the more positive you speak out in public, the more you inspire people, the more you uplift people, even though the situation is dire, you improve your career, you improve your work environment. So, for example, let's say you are, let's say you're an engineer. And in your country, big war is happening. You don't know when you're going to get attacked. Let's say you're in Israel. But if, let's say, you begin to talk to people about, you know what, we'll beat this. We're always going to win. We're always going to be okay. We're going to be saved from all kinds of attack. So what are you doing? In the darkest of hours, you're giving a hope. And this is why when you do something in your life, there's a side effect. It's kind of like pharmaceutical medicines. You take one thing, it'll have 10 different side effects that is talking about on the back of their bottle. So with you talking, you even entertaining people, somehow it's improving your career, even though you have nothing to do with media. Like, I even gave an example of Warren Buffett, because I think Warren Buffett is a Capricorn ascendant with Venus in the third. And without knowingly or unknowingly, Warren Buffett has been in media for 50 years, 60 years, if not more. Literally from his Coca-Cola days and when he bought Berkshire, he's been in news. So he's always been part of media, always been, talking about markets, this and that. So because of that, his Venus has always been active. So what is Venus? Venus is money. And what did he always talk about? Money and stocks. What's he investing in? What's happening in the economy? Because Venus is also economy. Venus is sociology. Venus is, media and or creative part. Venus is law, policies. So subconsciously, him doing this helped it. And the other thing, your strength and ideas, that have come about, depending upon how you grew up, usually will always be inspired through your father's family. Maybe somebody in father's family, let's say, becomes an IAS officer. And you meet them, you talk to them, and they give you this inspirational story of how they did it and why they couldn't see anybody, including you, for the last 4 years, because they were just completely immersed in those studies, passing that exam. And so you feel this inspiration that, wow, here's my uncle or cousin doing this. I'll be able to achieve good success as well. And also, you will see, because 10th Lord is the third, Third house is writing. Whenever you write, and especially like, people who have journals, when you write something about your goals, achieving goals, your professional goals, things you want to achieve in the next 5 years, 10 years, such people are able to actually do it. See, if you have 6th Lord in the 3rd house, 5th Lord in the 3rd, it may not work unless you work with those houses. But here, when a person says, I want to get a promotion, I want to be in a authoritative position, I want to be higher up, and they write about it, it helps them achieve those things. Why? Because by writing, which is the 3rd house, and the Lord of the 10th is in the 3rd, what are you doing? You are activating that 10th house somehow, some way, but especially you're activating it through its significance. The significance here is it's in the 3rd house of communication, 3rd house of writing. And what was I saying earlier? Get on media and start talking. Uplift people. 10th Lord in the 3rd, okay, whether it's from the ascendant or the moon, when you help others, when you inspire others, you will always have a good career. You will always have some form of kind of blessings come to you. And the earlier you recognize it, the better it is. Okay, but one thing you will see, when it comes to profession and whatever achievements you have had in your life this far, they have come through your effort, sheer effort of yours and yours only. It's not like somebody's sitting there wanting to give you everything in your life, because that's not that position. The position is, got to do it on your own, but you can achieve it. Like you'll start something from 0 and take it to like 1 billion. That's the achievement. Okay. Now we're going to look at 10th Lord in the 4th house. So you have 10th Lord in the 4th house, right? This shows that the individual is going to like to work out on the field. Meaning, 10th house is where your office is, where you go to work. Now, 4th house is directly opposite to the 10th house. It is the furthest point from the 10th house. So what happens is such a person does not thrive, and neither they like to just be in the office. They want to be out in the field. Like, for example, let's say you work for a city. You work for your local government. And let's say you're working for a water district. And so what happens is you like a position where they will give you a truck and tell you that you're going to have to go around the city and check for the meters. Okay? You have to go around the city and check for the meters. So what are you doing? You have your career in the 10th house, but the thing is you're out in the field. You're working for a government or some environmental corporation, and they're setting you out, studying rocks. You're kind of doing a bit of a geological work out in the field. You're like, for example, you're working for a telecommunication company, and you take a position of going out and checking all the cell towers. And if there's something wrong with the cell towers, you'll see what's wrong, and then you'll call for the mechanics, you'll call for this, you call for that. So that's what takes place. Okay. So, and it's funny. I almost got a job, I remember, with T-Mobile it was, or somebody else, back in 2008 or 9, regarding cell towers. And I thought it was going to be some normal job. And they're like, well, you guys are gathered here and we need a team for, because I didn't even understand what I was applying for. I just needed a job. And they were going to train people to go and look at dishes out that are like up on the antenna. I'm like, no. Because I had no clue. It was too complicated for my brain. My brain works very simple. It's too simple, actually. So, but see, these are the type of work environments that you will thrive in. Like 10th lord in the 4th house can easily make a great real estate agent, because your job is to be outside and showing people properties, looking at properties, bidding on properties, going into auctions. So those things become active. Now, yeah, you can say 10th lord in the 4th house. If a person works from home, remote work, that itself becomes beneficial for you. And that is even double beneficial if Venus is in the 4th. Unless Venus is your 10th lord in the 4th house. Because again, your work environment is the 10th house. And 4th house is the place away from your work environment, even though it's your own home. But what happens is, because your 10th of the house lord sits in the 4th house of home, when you work from home, your 10th house is fully awakened and working. And I suggest this to many people who have 10th lord in the 4th house, that even if you're going to the office and working, set up, if you have a space, give a separate room for your home office, where when you come back from work and after dinner, you want to look at some emails and even play some video games or look at some social media, you go into that office and you look at your computer. Because just having that will improve and keep your 10th house activated. So it doesn't mean you have to have that, position outside of work. You don't have to be out in the field, because you're creating the field within the home. And that's what benefits you. This is also the position. Well, it's not for everyone. You can have 10 out of 10 people sometimes having this position and they will not go for these things, but it is a position of a person to kind of be involved in politics. Your work is to deal with people of the homeland. Okay, now what are you going to do for the people of the homeland, your city? One chart will say you're supposed to be a lawyer. So you're going to be a lawyer for the city. One chart is saying you should be a plumber working for the water district. Okay. One chart is saying you're going to be an IT professional working for urban planning, in your government. And then the other is saying, okay, you're going to go into politics and office. Because 10th and 4th lord connection is needed. Whether it's 10th lord in the 4th house, 10th lord in the nakshatra of the 4th house, 4th lord in the sign of the 10th lord or nakshatra. It's like, once you make this wire connection, you can see, in the dasha of that lord, that sign, or the nakshatra lord dasha, it'll activate interest in those things. And if, let's say, you have a Raj Yoga, then you will probably make it. If the other person's Raj Yoga is not as good as you, and especially if Mars is transiting 11th from your Dashapati, you'll win. Dashapati as in the making the Dasha Lord the ascendant and seeing where Mars is. Look at Trump's chart. He had Mars 11th from his Dashapati when he won. Including even Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Okay. Then we have 10th Lord in the 5th house. Aha. It's funny. Right now we're doing 10th Lord in the 5th house. I'm pretty sure from the moment you started the video, my beard has grown, right? Because literally, you guys, it's taking me a week to make this video because I spend so much time. It's just that I get tired. So I do like 2-3 every day. So today we're doing 10th Lord in the 5th house. Okay. So obviously, your work environment is in the 5th, right? So that means this person, until their work and environment becomes a playground for this individual, they will not enjoy their work. Unless their work environment, becomes a fun, filled with games, filled with freedom of creativity, they cannot enjoy their work so much. And this especially shows that a person will somehow and actually they will require, okay, either subordinates under them, students under them, or working with children in general. And the other thing, the enhancement of one's career actually takes place post the birth of children. But one thing you will notice is that usually, and I've seen this mostly in like females chart, the 10th lord in the 5th house, after birth, the women will have to take time off or a break, not even like 2 or 3 month thing. Sometimes it's 2-3 years long. And it depends on the degree of the planet that it sits in. And you look at the degree of the ascendant and you have to like do a certain calculations, and the difference will show how long after the birth of children you will be off. But the thing is, with 10th lord in the 5th house, the work environment has to be created, but also the more this person, educates themselves, the better their work becomes. Like, how you would go and attend conferences, you will take courses, you keep improving your work through some form of education. When those things happen, then your work increases, then your work improves. So you always want to, keep learning. And the other thing we also see, mostly, or at least certain amount of people in your father's family will do very secretive work, very hidden work, things that require secrecy, confidentiality. And we also see there is a big transformation, big change right after your birth in father's family. Like, for example, somehow the whole, families were staying in a big home. Maybe your father wasn't, but it was known that, okay, this is our family home, this is our kutumba. But after your birth, there was this division. And after that division, the property was sold off. Or after your birth, suddenly everybody that was nearby moved away to different places. The paternal lineage goes through a transformation with your birth. But the thing is, you're not responsible for that. It is simply indicating that, hey, the time is now coming for this lineage to go through a change and transformation. Sometimes, lineages just end. Like, for example, after your birth, only girls are born. They're grown up, they're married off, and then nobody's there to carry on that, family name. I don't know if anybody cares for that. I never could. Everything changes, everything dies. There's no need to keep carrying on something. But yeah, those are the things that, take place in a person's life post-birth. And you also see father himself, would be very secretive with his communication. Father's voice, like father may actually be a great, singer, has a great creative voice. Sometimes even not professionally, father can like mimic and, make up voices of other musicians and actors. So naturally, and then also father's own wealth goes through a transformation after your birth. Now, is that good or bad? We'll have to see the conditions of your 10th Lord in the 5th house. And we can see, oh, okay, father's father suddenly became a multimillionaire. And usually father can also attain inheritance after your birth. So those things will take place. Now, let's do 10th Lord in the 6th house. Now, with 10th Lord in the 6th house, this is one of the best placement for your 10th Lord to be. Okay. On one hand, it shows a workaholic. Meaning, if this person does not have work, they feel like they don't have that worth. Okay. So that's what takes place. The second thing, this is the position that'll make a person very competitive. They feel like they must, defeat competition, defeat things in their life to feel like they have achieved something. It's kind of like lion. Like lion does not want to be fed. A tiger doesn't want to be fed. They want to hunt. It's there in their instincts and their DNA that when they hunt and they eat, the food tastes much better than just hand it to them. Then on the other hand, okay, 10th Lord in the 6th house. I was just about to say this. I don't know if you guys heard. Penny. Come here, Penny. Penny, baby. So, 10th Lord in the 6th house, right? I was about to say something about pets. And then she started meowing. So, I'm like, okay. So, this obviously shows that a person wants to take care of things. They want to protect things. They want to serve things. And 6th house is a house of pet. And this then shows me as an omen. 10th Lord in the 6th house, get a pet. Since it's a cat, I would say get a cat. If you can, get a dog as well. You like dogs, you get dogs. Having a pet, taking care of a pet, will naturally, help ensure the activation of your 10th Lord in the 6th house. Because then in that case, the signal is going back to the 10th house that, hey, we got to become active. We got to give this person more work. We got to give this person more responsibility. On the other hand, also, then 10th Lord in the 6th house will also show you that one is lucky in their career. One finds luck. Because 10th Lord is 9th from itself. Okay? No! Oh, no. So yeah, as I was saying, because the 10th Lord is 9th from itself, makes a person very lucky in matters of career. Even especially in business, this position can really kind of help your clients to spend money. Like spending their money to give you money. Because if a client spends money, what is it doing? Client is the 7th house. 6th house is 12th from the 7th house. That means they're contributing to your 10th Lord. And this is what happens. It's like you just need that one first customer to come in. When they give you that money, then that momentum begins to build up. Now next one will come and give you money because then again, 10th house becomes active. But like I said, having pets, naturally, it's an omen. Everything is an omen, And you know how cats are. It's not like I told Penny to just stay here. I'm going to make a video on 10th Lord in the 6th house. No, she shows up. She goes away. So that's what it is. Okay, and then 10th Lord in the 6th house will also show your paternal lineage may have actually been connected to your maternal lineage. Like most of the time, back in the days, cousins got married. So then the paternal and maternal lineage is like the same. But there'll be some connection. Maybe your father was introduced to your mother by somebody from her side of the family. So that link is connected. Okay. Now we'll do 10th Lord in the 7th house. 10th Lord is in the 7th house, which is what? Bhavat Bhavam of the 10th house. Meaning, it's 10th from the 10th. This is a highest position of the 10th house. This is like, 10 times 10 power. So, what does this show? First of all, it shows that this individual will, again, they can be very successful as long as they're not a Scorpio ascendant. If a person is a Scorpio ascendant, that means 10th Lord in the 7th house becomes Sun. And this can make you very successful, but there will be two scenarios that you will have to deal with. Either this person will have a good relationship with the father or good relationship with the spouse. Never both at the same time. And as the money increases, and this is what happens with Sun in the 7th, your money can increase, but the person also may have to deal with a bit of humiliation. Either by the partner, spouse, or the client. Like you'll be in a type of business where sometimes people will come and just curse you. You took my money, you did this, gave me this bad product, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll shout at you and leave. And this is why this person has to kind of create a heart of a rock. But otherwise, if the 10th Lord in the 7th house, overall, it creates a situation for business. But it also shows me the moment spouse comes in your life, okay? The moment you get married, what happens? Your 10th house becomes activated. Your 7th house becomes activated. So marriage is the most important for the spark of one's career. And usually when 10th Lord is getting involved in the 7th house, you will see somehow you will always tell situations of your marriage to your co-workers where your co-workers may have to get involved in your marriage, may have to get involved in your relationships. Like, for example, you confide in your colleagues and the colleagues are like, okay, fine. How about we go and we talk to, your girlfriend and see what's going on. I want to see, I want to see what she's like. So let's just meet for drinks and I want to analyze what your boyfriend looks like. So the involvement of work takes place. Or like, for example, you'll confide in your boss about your marriage and they want to kind of like help because that situation of the 10th house is going to the 7th. Usually such a person will also get involved with people from their work, for their relationship, for their marriage. But also, with 10th Lord in the 7th house, this really shows, I think, what was the other placement that I said? Yeah, 10th Lord in the 11th house. That one and 10th Lord in the 7th house. These are two placements where if you're not an outgoing person, if you're not an extrovert personality, you will lose quite a bit in life in terms of your professional accolades. Okay, not acolytes. Accolades. You're gonna have to engage with people if you want your profession and career to become solid. Like, I know you want to be introvert, you want to be a hermit, you don't want to deal with people so much. But if you just deal with it, that's it. You dealt with them. Great. Because now you are activating your profession. So go out there, meet, because even they might be just like you, not wanting to talk to you, not wanting to interact with you. So don't think just because you are unique and special and you are introvert that the world is now against you. No, the world itself is nervous and as tensed as you. Just go out there and do it. And you will see the activation, how your seventh house, give, or your 10th Lord gives you the result in the seventh house. Now, we're going to look at 10th Lord in the 8th house. 10th Lord in the 8th house. What does this show? Well, if you were looking for the fact that I was going to say, oh, your career is going to be completely ups and downs and you'll never have a great career, well, you came to the wrong place. Because I don't care what the books are saying. I don't care what someone's article is saying. I see normal, successful people with 10th Lord in the 8th house. Amazing careers. The only time you will see this is when 10th Lord in the 8th house is in a very, crude position, surrounded with enemies. Okay, then you may have to look at it. But if 10th Lord is in the 8th house, first of all, you will see this person is very secretive about their career. You don't get to find out how this person made a deal in their life, how they got something done in their life. But it happened. There's this vow of secrecy of how this person gets what they get. A lot of agreements are there. And now, and again, you have to see if a person is, atheist, agnostic, theist, or somebody who's just like, if somebody thinks astrology is a pseudoscience, wait till they actually purposely, in their most worst of times, go actually to a tarot psychic or an astrologer to take help about their career. I'll tell you what, they will not be the same afterwards. Because this position is that one position where when a person does remedy for their profession, for their career, it's going to transform their career. Such people, and then you will see, they can go really deep into Jyotish, numerology, Tantra, yagnas, secret ornaments. Such people can be given certain secret ornaments to keep, either with them or in the home. But at one point they will. And 10th Lord is in the 8th house. Such a person desires to be in a profession that is dramatic, that has some intensity to it, that has secrecy, intensity, and something that can change the world out there. Which is why 10th Lord in the 8th house is excellent for R&D, research and development. But yeah, you gotta have to have combinations for research and development. Otherwise, 10th Lord in the 8th simply shows that a person will work in an environment with a lot of agreements and confidentiality agreements. One may have to rely on other people's assets to get their career going. One will have to deal with emergencies in their career. And I'm not talking about you being an ER doctor. Like, for example, just out of nowhere, you're working, but then you now have to take your colleague to the hospital because some emergency came. Or some emergency came that this piece of a contract that was there is not there in the file today. And everybody is ready to sign the contract, ready to make this deal. And now you have to suddenly in emergency drive 2 hours out to just bring this one piece of paper. Unless, of course, you can email that paperwork. But maybe that particular paperwork has a particular stamp that can only be used for a particular signature. I don't know, but those type of things tend to happen. So usually when a person is in a environment where a lot of fluctuations happen, they do very well. Whenever you are in a career that is, what do you call those career? Independent contractor, right? With that, temporary work. The more you do temporary work in independent contracting, the more you will do, the more you will make. For example, okay, you work for a company for 1 year, contract's up, and most likely if you're in a contract situation, you'll be with an agency. Then agency will be like, okay, well, instead of Raytheon, we have Lockheed Martin for the next 2 years. You want to take this? Absolutely. When you do anything like that, you actually build wealth. Why? Because you're aligned with the 10th Lord in the 8th house. You're not looking for stability. Don't look for stability with 10th Lord in the 8th house. If this is the only thing, if there's one thing you want to take about this particular part of the series, 10th Lord in the 8th house, please don't look for a stable career. Because believe me and trust me, you'll be disappointed. Don't look for a desk job that will last for 20, 30 years. You will be grossly, disappointed in that area. Now, can 10th Lord in the 8th house means you can go into occult and mysticism? It gives you the validation, but it's not giving you the permission. It's validating it. But you're going to have other scenarios, other planets that will have to show that, okay, yeah, you can go to the fields of occult and make money from it. Actually, I've hardly ever seen astrologers with 10th Lord in the 8th house. I actually see more accountants and people in R&D with this placement. Okay. Now let's do 10th Lord in the 10th Lord in the 9th house. So 10th Lord is in the 9th house. Right? So this is a placement that, first of all, ensures that a person is going to go far away from where they are. They're going to have to go far away from where they are. But also, before that, you may also have your profession and professional workspace be strongly impacted by the father, where you would have worked for the father, learned something from the father related to work. Father could have been involved in you getting the job or the work. But also with 10th Lord in the 9th. Okay. This is naturally a teacher. No matter if this person is a plumber, software engineer, athlete, lawyer, you name it. This person is here to teach. And at one point, they will take that delight of teaching. Now, this delight can happen at the age of 15, 45, 95. Because for that, you have to see, what dasha they run. And if they run through the dasha, that will allow them to. But here's the thing. Since you are watching this video, don't wait for the dasha. You want to improve your career? Start teaching something to people. Even if, let's say, you're working and you've had 3 years or 2 years of experience at your work. Okay, great. You got experience. Now, start teaching someone about what you have learned in those 2-3 years. That's almost like 1,000 days that you have worked somewhere. Well, not 1,000 days. I would probably say 742 days. Because you're going to take the weekends off. But look at 742 days of training you've had already. So don't be shy about teaching someone. And now you have the best way of teaching because you don't need to search for students. The world is your student and they're waiting for you on this particular device called smartphone. So start teaching. Because what is that going to do? that is going to improve your work. That's going to improve your fame. That's going to improve your recognition. And the other thing with 10th Lord in the 9th house, the more pilgrimages you take, the more you kind of serve the guru. Having a guru in your life or a priest, respecting them, always taking care of them, asking them if they need anything. What do you think it's going to do? Something negative to your 10th house? No, it's going to improve your 10th house. But see, with 10th Lord going into the, 9th house, just being in the presence of a guru, you don't have to even serve or touch the guru's feet. Just in the presence of guru, you're enhancing your 10th house. The other thing, such people with 10th Lord in the 9th house are sharpshooters. They know their target. They know exactly where they're shooting. And sometimes they're shooting at multiple targets at the same time. Like, this person is a strategist. No matter who they are, they're a strategist. They're strategically doing every single move is strategic with this person. And it's only not because of this person. This person may not have anything to do with the 10th Lord in the 9th house. Because we're looking at the ascendant, sun, moon, Atma Karaka, that. But when it comes to their work and profession, their work and reputation, they're going to become strategists, even though they're the most kindest soul in the world. Because when it comes to the need of that particular house, then these things happen. Okay. Usually, if 10th Lord is in the 9th house with Moon or Jupiter, you will see this person publish something at one point. They will write and publish something. But also, like I said, career, somehow profession, gets influenced by either father or guru. Somehow, some way it happens. Okay. So anyway, guys, this is my analysis of 10th Lord through houses. Remember, I put on 2025 horoscope for all ascendants on Karis Vlogs on Magha Vedic Astrology Academy, so you can check that out, including my 3 other predictions video of this year and next year. And of course, if you want any consultations, books, reports, check out the links here, karasastrology.com. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.